The verse is incredibly vast. A living, breathing universe filled with wonder, danger, and opportunity. Every Star Citizen pilot starts somewhere. A single ship, a handful of credits, and a dream. If you're new here, welcome. Star Citizen can feel completely overwhelming at first, but that's part of what makes it feel so special. Every system, every sunrise, every mission is a story waiting for you to live it. This guide is your first flight plan. We'll go step by step through everything you need to know to start your journey strong, confident, and ready to explore. This guide is built to take you from the very beginning, from selecting your starter ship, to spawning for the first time, gearing up, flying, completing intro contracts, and surviving your first hours in the verse. It's divided into sections, each covering a key part of your initial journey. You can follow along with me straight through from start to finish, pausing as you need, or use the chapters and links in the description to jump to whatever you need. Whether you're learning for the first time or coming back for a quick refresher, my hope is that this video acts as a powerful resource for those new to the game or returning after a long time away. If you haven't created your Star Citizen account on the Roberts Space Industries website yet, you can do so today for free. Please consider using my referral code on the screen and available in a link in the video description. This will provide you with a little extra starting money once you decide to buy your first game package ship and jump into the verse. However you choose to explore, this is your flight path to becoming a confident citizen. So strap in, pilot, get settled in, and let's set course for your first adventure in the Star Citizen universe. Alright, let's get started. So first, to play the game, you need to purchase a game package. You do so by going to the RSI website, clicking on Pledge Store, and then selecting Game Packages. At the time of recording, these were the starting ships and game packages available. There's the Mustang Alpha, which was actually my first ship, the C8X, the Drake Cutter, which is a good all-arounder, a pretty popular favorite. There's the Drake Golem, which is a mining specific ship. There's the Avenger Titan, which is the one I'm actually going to be starting with today. And there's the Crusader Intrepid, which is also a pretty good all-around ship. And then there's a few others, an alien ship, a fighter jet, a few others here. But I'm gonna focus in on these top ones because they're also more affordable and you don't really need to spend more to get into this game. The Drake Cutter is a very popular favorite ship. It does not do much with regard to ship combat, so maybe realize that. The Avenger Titan is what I would suggest as the best starter ship, the best all-arounder. This is the one that I'm starting with today. Notice you get the ship, you get 6-month insurance, which doesn't play into the game too much right now, but will in the future. And then you start out with 10,000 UEC, which is the money. And then you of course have the digital download. So that's the ship I'm starting with today. And once you load in and launch the game, this is the game menu. There's Arena Commander and the Persistent Universe. The Persistent Universe is where we'll be spending our time and is the reason you're interested in this game, I'm sure. The Arena Commander is more for playing around. Definitely go check it out, but the Persistent Universe is where we're going to go today. So let's launch that, and notice that the first thing it does is it has you customize your character. So you can select a female-based character, a male-based. I'm going to pick a male character. You can do all sorts of customization to make this character look the way you want. There is a randomize button at the bottom, so I'm just going to click through and randomize, find something that looks reasonable for now. And then show you can click and drag and move, and notice there's a decent amount of customization you can do to the facial features. You could spend some time here and try to make your character look like you, or make your character look absolutely ridiculous. It's totally up to you. There are several different things you can do with hair, beards, styling, tattoos, makeup, but once you have it looking the way you'd like, hit review, and there is a save option so that you can go in and actually give this character customization a name and save it so that in the future, when a patch update occurs, you can not have to recreate your character each time. But once I like it, I'm going to go ahead and hit accept. Now it brings us to this screen of, do we want to play the tutorial or skip? Honestly, this video is intended to be a better tutorial than this in-game one, which is rather outdated. So feel free to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and hit skip here. And you can certainly skip. I don't think you're going to be missing out on too much by just using this video as your tutorial. Now we need to select the system that we want to spawn into. Stanton and Pyro exist at the time of this recording, but there will be a third very shortly, Nyx. Pyro there are 3 stations in Pyro: Ruin, Checkmate, and Obituary. This is not exactly the place I would recommend for a new player, so I highly recommend that you start in Stanton. Even if Nyx is available, Stanton is the best starting location. There are 4 cities you could choose from as your home location. Lorville is a bit of a rough industrial type city. A lot of people like Lorville. Orison is a floating city on a gas giant called Crusader. Beautiful city. There is New Babbage, which is a very beautiful high-tech city on the wintry planet of Microtech. And then there's Area 18, which honestly gives off some pretty strong cyberpunk vibes and is a really cool location. I'm going to choose Area 18 on the planet of ArcCorp as my location. You can then choose a server based on location. There's really doesn't matter too much for now, but I'm just going to go ahead and select EU based on the time of day right now. Notice that once I choose this, I cannot change it again until a new patch in this alpha developing game drops. So I'm going to go ahead and hit confirm for Area 18, and this will connect us into a shard. This is the loading screen it will bring you to. The loading screen changes with each patch and just takes a couple of minutes. Alright, we are now in our hangar, spawned in. When you first start, you spawn into the hangar. Notice that we've got global chat automatically open here on the left. It can get pretty nasty. I recommend hitting F12 to simply turn that off. Alright, so this is what our hangar looks like. Notice we are physically here. I can look down at my feet, can walk forward and look around. So I'm not going to explain too much here, but it's the normal WASD movement like with most PC games. Space is jump. Notice we have a freight elevator over here. You do a lot with the freight elevators, as you'll see today. Here is the pad that our ships spawn into. Over on the other side, we've got a drone repair. That's really not in game yet, so we don't use that area. A medical location, which is supposed to, in the future, provide quick access to the hospital, but doesn't do that yet. This is the main part of the hangar. You'll spend a lot of time over here. This is hangar services, where you spawn in, where you will pull up your ships. Over here on this side, we have storage access kiosks. This is how you access your inventory here at this location. So the inventory is bound to location. You do have a personal inventory, and to access that, you can tap I on your keyboard, and this will open the inventory on your body. So I'm not wearing anything that can carry any inventory, so you're not seeing that, but you would see it off on the right and the left if I was. Notice I can click and drag and see around on my character. Notice there is a pistol on my hip. This is the one they give you to start with, the Arclight pistol. It actually is a pretty fantastic sidearm. You are also provided with 1 battery, 1 mag to reload. You get 1 med pen as well. And then the undersuit that you spawn in with is a classic undersuit that's space capable, as well as a helmet that everything you need in your spawn allows you to go into space. And you can simply tap escape to exit inventory. We'll look at that more later on. Now F1 will bring up Mobiglass. The Mobiglass is basically your personal electronic device in the verse. You will use it a lot. Notice right here, this shows our crime stat rating. We do not have a crime stat, but yes, there is crime in the game. And if your crime stat gets too high, you will be hunted by other players and can be sent to prison. On this first home tab, you can see a lot of other information about health, and notice the atmosphere rating is safe, so I could take off my helmet. I'm in a breathable, safe atmosphere right now. But I'd like to take you through the different tabs of the Mobiglass, little Mobiglass 101, if you will. There's a health tab, comms. This is actually showing the global chat that we toggled off a moment ago. So you can access that in the Mobiglass. If you were to party up with other players and all be in a party together, you'd be able to see a party chat option and just chat with party members here as well. If I had various friends. I don't have any friends associated with this account right now, but I'd see them listed there, and any pending friend requests or party requests would be available there. The list over on this right hand side is basically all the players that are available or currently in this server. This list can work sometimes and not work other times, but you can right click on a name and invite to party, send a friend request. That's how you would connect with other players in your server. The contracts tab is one of the most important tabs. This is how you're going to primarily make money. There are other ways besides contracts to make money, but as a new player, this is a location you want to become very familiar with. Notice there are different folders or drop-down menus that will be offering different contracts, and I want to use the Wicklow one to show you how these contracts work. Wicklow is an alien trader in the universe right now with several space stations, and there's contracts that he will offer. Most of them are pick up on location now, but notice this contract has us picking up 1 water and 3 Tundra Copion horns. If we wanted to accept that, we would hit accept. Once we hit accept, it would be visible here in this accept category, and we'd be able to, you can accept multiple missions at the same time. Once you've completed it, it will be visible here under history. That is just for this play session, however. There are hauling contracts. Notice this one is to haul cargo. This is to haul a few boxes of corundum from Beijini Point, which is the space station. This is offered by Kovalex Shipping. Kovalex Shipping is the company that is asking you to haul for them. So this would be taking corundum from Beijini Point down to Riker Memorial Spaceport in Area 18, which is actually where I'm standing right now. So this is a pretty simple cargo hauling contract that pays 50,000 credits. So we are going to do this contract a little bit later on once we get some gear. Notice there are mercenary contracts. We're going to complete one of those as well. Different collection. Now PvP missions, these are player versus player. These are bounty hunting missions. So these are players that have a crime stat of at least 3, and the game has automatically created a bounty on their head, and you would be able to select these, get a mission marker, and go hunt down other players. That can be a lot of fun, but fair warning, a lot of those players are highly experienced and it can be quite the challenge. Investigation missions, this one goes to an Onyx facility on a moon. Salvage contracts, we're not going to get into salvage in this tutorial today. These priority drop-down menus will likely be done and gone by the time you are watching this video. These are for the event that is currently underway in the month of November 2025. So if there are other events going on, they will frequently appear like that under contracts. And notice there are bounty hunter missions that are different than the PvP contracts. These are PvE, where you are hunting down an NPC in the verse, and we will complete one of those today as well. But yes, this is where you're going to go to make some money. Now notice we have a map tab as well. I can use my mouse to scroll out and zoom out on this map, and notice there we are. We can see that I am in Area 18 on the planet of ArcCorp right now. You can click and drag and rotate the map around, just like that. If I zoom out even further, we will be able to see that there are moons in orbit around the planet of ArcCorp. There are also these mining bases. If you click on one of these points of interest, it provides a little bit of information that you can know about that site before you were to travel there. And if I zoom out a little further, notice here is the planet, the moon, Galleria, and here's the other moon, Walla, of the ArcCorp planet. There we go. It's a little upside down. ArcCorp, Galleria, and Walla. And if I zoom out even further, we can see that there are space stations that are outside of the planetary orbit that we could travel to. And if we zoom out even further, we can see there are other planets. This is Hurston. We will be seeing Hurston today in this video, as well as its main space station, Everest Harbor. There's another planet over here called Crusader, which is a beautiful planet with a floating city. It also has a space station known as Seraphim Station. And then we have a fourth planet that is further away up here in the top right, which is Microtech. This is a cold planet with snow. It is the furthest planet away from the Stanton star. And we have various space stations all throughout this solar system. Now if we zoom out even further, we can see we've got Terra Gateway, Pyro Gateway, and Magnus Gateway. Magnus Gateway is temporarily going to be known as Nyx Gateway. We would be able to travel to these locations. At Pyro Gateway, there's a jump wormhole that will take us to the system of Pyro. If I zoom out further, you can see there is Pyro on the map. It is another solar system. And very shortly, here within the next 2 weeks, we will have Nyx, which will be the third system in this persistent universe. All right, so that is the star map. It could be better, but it works. Journal, this is where you can go see various achievements that you have accomplished throughout your time in the verse. Assets, I don't use often, but I found it to be a little buggy, but it's supposed to show you where you have various assets stored within the verse. And then rep, notice we have no rep right now. This is your reputation. Once we start completing contracts for various mission givers, we will start developing rep, and I will show you what the rep system looks like towards the end of this video. There's also a wallet, which allows you to send money to other players within the verse, whether they're a friend or you're meeting up with another player to buy something from them. You would use this to send them electronically, transfer them some of your money. That's the wallet. Now notice I am starting with 25,000 credits. You will be starting with hopefully at least 5 or 10,000. If you use my referral code, you might have more, but that's your starting funds that you can use to purchase various gear within the game. We're gonna go spend some of this money here in a moment to get some essential gear that I would highly recommend in your first few moments in the verse. There's also a landing tab. This is used when you land your ship within a station or at a spaceport. I'll show you that later. And then there's a vehicles tab. We're going to use this to modify our ship. First though, we need our ship to be stored at the station. Notice that this has a little padlock next to it. My Avenger Titan is not currently stored, so I'm going to hit escape to exit my Mobiglass, and then we're going to head over here to the fleet manager. Notice this kiosk has a little F. You're going to push F a lot in this game. So hit F to access this kiosk. And notice this is the fleet manager, or the ASOP system. My ship is currently deliverable. And notice it is classified as a courier. The Avenger Titan is a multi-purpose ship. It can deliver 8 SCU of cargo. SCU stands for Standard Cargo Units. I'm going to click Delivery. And there we go. Now my ship is available here at Area 18. If I go back into the Mobiglass and pull up vehicles, it is now available. And if I click on the Avenger Titan, you can see various things that you would be able to do to your ship. Mine is coming stock with a livery that came with the package I purchased, but I would be able to hit unequip and save if I wanted to take that paint off. You would use this function in your Mobiglass to change various components of your ship, like the quantum drive and shield, or change the weapons loadout. So this is how you are primarily going to change the loadout of your ship, depending on what ship you purchase in the verse. It just has to be stored at the location. Also, if you tap F4, this will put you in third-person camera view, and if you hold Z and move your mouse around, this will change the camera angle. It can be quite useful sometimes. Hitting F4 again will zoom out a little further, and F4 again to return to first-person view. Alright, we need some gear. So next up, let's head into town. So to leave the hangar, you head over here and hit F to call the elevator. You're going to hold F and use your mouse to engage with screens like this one in the elevator. So I selected the spaceport, and now my elevator is physically moving over to the spaceport. Notice I am not being teleported, it is physically moving. That's for better or for worse. Sometimes this is player versus elevator kind of gameplay. But now we are in the Riker Memorial Spaceport at Area 18. A few things here. You can use the scroll wheel to change the speed of your walk. So I've slowed it way down, or I can scroll up into a run. And then remember, holding shift will actually let you sprint. Alright, that's another player there. So this player is at the ASOP terminal claiming his ship, it looks like. Alright, and so notice we've got a food stand here where we can hold F to buy different drinks. There's also food items like these burritos. But this is the spaceport. There's not much else here currently at Area 18. So to leave the spaceport, we're going to head over to the transport platform. Notice there are storage kiosks, storage access kiosks all over. These provide access to your storage inventory here throughout Area 18. So wherever you see one of those, you would be able to access that kiosk and see all of the inventory you have stored at this location in this city. All right, but we're following the signs over to the transit platform. So we need to ride a tram now from the spaceport into the city. Over here on the left is the tram that will take us into the city. I'm going to run real quick. So we're going to take this tram to the ArcCorp City Plaza. And notice the tram is now moving away from the platform. And we're going to now take a short little tram ride into Area 18 and go to ArcCorp Plaza. All right, here we are arriving at Area 18. So the short little tram ride is going to drop us off here on this platform. And now we are outside here on the beautiful planet of ArcCorp. And if I hold F and mouse wheel up, we can zoom in and look at things further away. That's a really helpful feature. So we're going to head over here to the ArcCorp Plaza. Notice there are storage access kiosks scattered around. And as we head in here to the transit lobby, notice that we want to take that hallway over there when we come back to head back to the spaceport. But let's head up these stairs and enter ArcCorp Plaza. ArcCorp Plaza has multiple shops and facilities where we can purchase things. Over here on the left is the hospital. So if I were to die anywhere in the verse right now, I would respawn there in the Empire Hospital. I could also use hospital beds there. This is the TDD. That's a useful place for selling different commodities or ores that I might purchase. So here is a map of the Area 18 area, and that's less helpful because let me show you this. If you hit F2, we now have this nice map within the Mobiglass. And I can zoom out and click and move and rotate this map around to see various things here in Area 18. So if I want to get to the weapons shop, for example, I can use this map to find the weapons dealer here in Area 18. I can click on that, and notice that if I tap R, that will set a route to that on this map. So sometimes these cities can get confusing, and notice up here on the left, I now have a line on my mini-map that I can follow that will take me to that location that I selected on the Mobiglass map. So that will help you navigate some of the more complicated cities. It even works on large ships like the Idris, Polaris, and Reclaimer. So let's head over here to the plaza. Following that line on the mini-map to get where I need to go. And here we are in the retail shops. There's a Kasaba outlet which sells clothing. This is the hospital and Habs. And then over here on the right, here is our weapons shop. Cubby Blast. There's a player. Cool armor. So Cubby Blast sells weapons and ammo. There's NPCs scattered around the city. Some weapons on display here, but let's go into the shop. And here we are. Notice that there are various items on display, including some drinks, weapons on the wall. Notice that you can walk up to and just simply point at, and it will show you what guns these are. If you were to hold F, you would purchase that. Please do not do that right now. We will purchase some items later. There's a player who is using the shop kiosk. We're going to use that here in a few moments to buy some things. But notice you can see some of the armor on mannequins. You would actually be able to purchase it while it's on the mannequin. Anything you purchase in a store goes to your inventory at that location. Not on your person, but at that location. So it would go to my inventory here at Area 18. This is the Gray Cat multi-tool, Pyro multi-tool. This is an incredibly important tool. You want to have one of these on you pretty much all the time. So I'm going to buy one right now. There's an ore mining attachment and an oxy torch. All I really want right now is that multi-tool, and we're going to buy a tractor beam here as well, a tractor beam attachment for the multi-tool. So first things first, make sure you buy a pyro multi-tool. Notice that in the shop kiosk, I would be able to search by different categories. There's consumables like med pens. We have one med pen on our hip right now, right? There's food items, because you do need to eat and drink, keep yourself hydrated and fed in this game. This is cruise. There's different types of cruise. Cruise Lux is sold here. It's the yellow one. This provides both nutrients and hydration, so it's a very useful food. It's also super cheap, so I'm going to go ahead and buy quite a few of them right now. So the most important thing I want to buy right now, however, is the tractor beam attachment. And so this, if I type tractor, there we go, True Hold tractor beam attachment. This attaches to my pyro multi-tool. Make sure you buy one of these. Very, very important. There we go. Now, I have a decent amount of money, so I'm going to go ahead and buy a gun right now. But if you do not have enough money right now based on your starting money, you don't need to buy this gun. But the P4AR is a fantastic starting rifle. A lot of people use that as their go-to. I'm going to buy some ammo for it right now as well. Keeping an eye on my wallet because I don't want to spend too much money. Again, you do not need to buy a gun right now. I'll show you how to make some money first so that you have plenty of money to buy whatever you would like to buy. But I'm going to spend a little bit of my money to also buy some armor. Let me show you a few things. So this is light armor. Light armor provides a 20% reduction in damage. Medium armor, a 30% damage reduction. And then if I find some, I'm going to buy the medium right now. You do not need to buy any armor right now if you do not have the money for it. But notice the heavy armor provides a 40% damage reduction. So I'm going to go ahead and buy the rest of the armor to match this medium set that I like. But again, you don't need to buy any right now if you don't have the funds. I'm also going to buy a backpack so that I can show you the backpacks. So there are light, medium, and heavy backpacks. You need to have it, to wear a heavy backpack, you have to be wearing heavy armor. I could wear a light backpack or a medium backpack with heavy armor, but I cannot wear a heavy backpack with medium or light armor. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and buy a medium backpack that will hopefully go fairly well with the armor that I just purchased. There we go. Notice I am running out of funds, so keep an eye on your wallet. One last thing that I do want to buy here, though, are some med pens. These are ways that we can heal ourselves a bit while we're in the field if we take some damage. So they are fortunately quite affordable, and later on in this video I will show you med guns, which are potentially more useful but also more expensive. So that kiosk is in use, but we need to now find one of our storage access kiosks to see the things that I just bought. So I'm going to tap F here, and now you can see I'm going to drag my helmet off, leave my undersuit on, and I want to remove the gun. Oh, I think that just grabbed the ammo out of the gun. So let's drag everything off of my undersuit, but leave the undersuit in place. And then I can, now I've got some armor up here. This placeholder, by the way, just ignore this. I think it's just a glitch in the game right now. It doesn't do anything. I have some armor that came with my game package here. I'm not going to use that armor right now, but the armor that I just purchased, I can drag onto my body like this. And notice now I can actually store some things in this armor. Or you can just double left click on the pieces of armor and the backpack, and that will put all of this equipped to your character's body. Alright, so notice I now have a backpack with storage and whatnot. I'm going to double click again on my pistol to put it back on my hip. I want to double click on the ammo, that will equip it to my body there. Actually, I'm just going to put that one in my, I'll leave it on the body. I'm going to put this one in my backpack maybe. Yeah, there we go. And then I'm going to move the rifle that I purchased onto my backpack. If you did not buy a backpack but you did buy a rifle, you can simply put that rifle on your back. But notice the backpack holds 2 rifles. There we go. And then I want to double click on my pyro multi-tool. So now my multi-tool is on my hip as well. Incredibly important, don't go anywhere with that one. I'm going to double click on the tractor beam attachment, and that puts it into the pyro multi-tool. I'm going to double click on some med pens to put those on my hip. And then I'm going to right click and split apart some of these crews. So I'm just going to take 2 rather than all 10 of them. And I'm going to double click on this ammo and notice that equips it to my armor on my abdomen there. So there we go. I am very well equipped now. Pyro multi-tool with a tractor beam attachment, med pens, ammo, my pistol, my rifle, my backpack. All you need at this point right now, if you're low on funds, make sure you get that tractor beam and pyro multi-tool with the tractor beam attachment, because we're going to need that to go make some money. So now let's head back the same way we came before, back to Riker Memorial, taking the tram over to the spaceport. All right, here we are back in the spaceport. I rode the tram with this other player, and back where we were before. So I can either use one of these to pull up my ship, one of these ASOP terminal kiosks, and I'll do that just to show you. I don't need to do that in my home location, and there's some bugs about this that I'll show you later, but I can simply click retrieve, give it a moment, and notice I can see my ship now in my hangar over there. I'm going to call the elevator, and let's head to my hangar. So again, you hold F to right click on the screens to interact touch screens like that. Hold F and use your mouse to click. All right, here we are back in my hangar. And now let's fly. So here's my ship, the Aegis Avenger Titan. Best starter ship in my opinion. It's a wonderful ship. If you got a different starter ship, that's okay. You're going to be able to do a lot of these same things in this tutorial. We're going to run some cargo right now, which we can do in the Titan. You can do this in the Intrepid. You can do it in the Cutter. Technically, you can do it in the Mustang Alpha as well, although it's a little harder. And of course, the Cutlass Black or Nomad, the other 2 starter ships that are more expensive. I really like the Titan though. Notice that when I walked up to the back of it, I could hit F and that brought down the ramp. And now I've walked into my ship, I can tap F on this floating button again to close the ramp. And now I'm in the cargo bay of the Titan. If I walk over here and hit F, this will open this door. And now I'm in the hab with a bed. The beds can be used for logging out in various places in space. But if I walk up into here, now I'm in the cockpit of the ship. Tap F to enter the pilot seat. And let me introduce you to the ship. This largely applies across ships, so I can tap F4 to go into third-person camera view, just like I can if I'm on my feet. And again, hold Z and move the mouse around to look. Really useful feature for like after you land or you want to see what's around you, or sometimes just for scenic flying in space. Tap U turns on the computer system of the ship. There we go. And if you tap I, this will turn on the ship's engines. You can hold F to use the mouse to interact with the MFDs, the multifunctional displays. I have 4 of them in the ship, or 3 of them I guess, and I can use the buttons on the left and the right to go between the different screens in the MFD. Notice this is the power management. I have 2 coolers currently installed. I really only need 1 right now, so I'm going to turn 1 off, and notice that I can redistribute power to various components of the ship. So I can distribute more to the guns or to the shields. I can turn power down or power up on coolers or shield generator. So power management is an important MFD screen. And I think, you know what, I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave it on power management down on this screen. And then I'm going to change this one to communication. Communication then gives me the option to and if it's hard to read like this, you can scroll up while holding F, and then I can page the Area 18 landing services, the ATC, and notice that I'm in a hangar queue. So let me show you a couple other things while we wait for that. If I go back into the Mobiglass, another way that you can call the ATC is under the comms channel and under friends. If I'm in my hangar, Area 18 landing service is right there. So that's another way you can page or hail the ATC. While we continue to wait, let me show you some basic flight skills. You're going to tap or hold the space bar to strafe upward or to take off. If I tap N, this is going to retract my landing gear. Now, quick note, once your landing gear is retracted, you're going to be able to be a lot more maneuverable, so I recommend keeping your landing gear down at all times inside your hangar. D strafes to the right and A strafes to the left. S reverses, and then W is a forward thrust. And again, be careful if your landing gear are not retracted. E to roll to the right, Q will then roll your ship to the left. All right. Now I'm going to put my landing gear back down because I highly recommend you keep your landing gear deployed while you are inside the hangar. Notice this little symbol right there on my HUD tells me that my landing gear are down. It's like almost like a little bicycle symbol. Now while my hangar doors open, I'm going to let them open a little bit further, and then I'm going to use W to provide some forward thrust to leave my hangar. Once the nose of my ship, and I point the nose of the ship with the mouse, once the nose of the ship is pointed in a safer direction, I'm going to retract the landing gear, which is going to significantly increase my speed as well. So be careful with that. But again, you use your mouse to point the nose of your ship, and then you can roll or strafe to the side. Control is strafing downward, but notice we just left from over here. And if I hold right click, it actually zooms in. So hold right click while flying is going to zoom in and let you see a little bit better what's out in front of you. But let's fly over here towards the city, and notice my speed increases. That's my speedometer, so 240 meters per second. All right, so you want to be mindful of your speed. Let's go ahead and land on top of one of these buildings just to demonstrate the idea of landing. So I'm going to land right there on top of this building. We're going to tap N to deploy the landing gear, which is going to significantly slow down my speeds as well. Notice it's capped at 29 meters per second. I'm going to tap or hold control to strafe downwards when landing while keeping my nose level. So there we go. We have successfully landed. So I think let's go ahead and pick up a contract. Let's go haul some cargo as an introductory contract because I am low in funds, right? So we're going to hit contracts, and out of all these options, I'm going to hit hauling. Notice it only gives me one option. This is the introductory cargo hauling mission. It is to pick up a few boxes of corundum at Beijing Spaceport and bring it back to this Riker Memorial Spaceport. If you click track, this will give you mission markers on the map. So notice I can see different mission markers on the space map, and that can sometimes be very useful for routing to those locations once you are actually up in space. So I'm going to use spacebar to take off again, N to retract my landing gear, and then notice I can see what angle my nose is pitched to, and then if I hold shift, it's going to engage the afterburners and boost. And notice I can see how much boost I'm using there on the right. Once you let go of that, the amount of boost or afterburner is going to replenish itself slowly. But here we are, departing Area 18 up into the atmosphere over the beautiful planet of Erkul. Now I'm currently in SCM mode, which stands for Space Combat Maneuvering, but if I hold B briefly, that will change me into nav mode. Notice my quantum drive is now spooling and is currently online because I'm out of atmosphere now. I want to point towards a quantum marker, and in this case, the one where I need to collect a shipment, and it happens to be Beijing Point. Once it has calibrated, I want to left click, and that will engage the quantum drive. And notice we just flew very fast from where we were, just above Area 18, to Beijing Point. So the quantum drive allows you to quantum travel once it has spooled and calibrated to a quantum marker. So now we are up in space, and this is Beijing Space Station in orbit over Area 18. Now notice my speeds in space and in nav mode are quite fast. And if I turn too quickly and increase my G's too much, I can actually black out. Briefly holding B will change me back into SCM mode and drastically decreases my speed and lets me have more control. But this is the Beijini space station. So now once we get a little closer here, we need to hail the ATC. Oh, look at that. There's another ship. That is another player ship, and if I tap T, it will target that ship, and notice that happens to be another Avenger Titan. Same ship as I'm flying right now. But let's fly over here closer to the space station, and then I want to use the comms on the MFD, or alternatively, you can actually hit left Alt N, and that will do the same thing, but we're going to hail Beijini Point ATC. Now notice there's actually two Beijini points there. One says cargo, don't push that. That's for the whole sea. All right, and so we have been granted a hangar here at Beijini Point. There it is. You just look around for it and notice it tells me where my small hangar is. And we're going to carefully move over next to these hangar doors that are slowly opening. Very careful. And as we get closer, I want to drop my landing gear by hitting N. And that's going to control my speed so that I don't unintentionally just ram right into that hangar and crash. So we're going to carefully enter our hangar and use control to strafe downward and land on the hangar floor. There we go. The hangar doors are closing behind us. Now I actually want to use that freight elevator over on my right, so I'm going to actually take off and reposition my ship so that my cargo bay of the ship is backed up to the freight elevator for easier loading. There we go. Now I'm going to turn engines off by tapping I. Always do that when you land. Always turn off your engines. If we go back into the Mobiglass and tap the landing tab here, if I had used a lot of fuel, I would be able to hit refuel. Notice just like that, I would be able to click refuel the hydrogen or the quantum fuel using the Mobiglass. And then I'm going to briefly hold Y to exit the pilot seat. There we go. Let's go ahead and leave the ship through the back and pick up this cargo. Alright, notice the hangar looks almost the same. There's an elevator over there that would allow us to go into the space station. We will go tour a space station a little later on. For now, let's complete this contract. So I'm going to walk up to this freight elevator kiosk, tap F, and because the freight elevator is there's the cargo I need, and it's currently raised, so I need to lower the freight elevator. There we go. Once that's down, we can use this kiosk to now access the cargo. I can either drag it over or I can click on it and hit move to elevator, and now it's on the elevator and I want to raise the elevator back up. There we are. There's the cargo that we need to now move to Area 18. If I tap 5, this will pull out my multi-tool. And because I have the tractor beam attachment currently installed in my multi-tool, I can now click left click to activate that tractor beam and pick up these boxes. Notice it creates a little hologram box where I'd be able to attach it to a cargo grid. And there we go. And if I hold R, I can use the mouse and the scroll wheel to rotate or twist around the cargo if I need to get it into a better position. And then I can also scroll wheel the mouse out to extend the cargo out further or retract it in with the mouse wheel. But we're going to attach it to the cargo grid of my ship, just like that. And there we go. So now let's just get all of these cargo boxes loaded up into the cargo bay of my ship. All right, last one here. Oh, come on, fit. There we go. All right, and notice I can't get in my ship from the back anymore, so thankfully there's a different way. Okay, and we're gonna hold R to briefly reholster our weapons and tools. Tapping 1 or 2 is going to pull out your rifle. Right click, hold right click to aim, and then left click shoot. There we go. You can then tap 3 to pull out your pistols, or MedGun if you have a MedGun equipped. Notice I need to reload, so if I tap R while holding a gun, it will reload that gun. And then same thing, right click and left click to aim and shoot. Tap 4 to pull out a med pen. Med pens are used to heal yourself, or you can actually, using right click, inject another person who is injured or incapacitated. And then 6, oh, that was 5. 6 is going to pull out your fists, and you can actually punch with left and right. There you go. And then holding R briefly will put those guns away. Alright, let's close this up now. And then the other way that you can get into the Avenger Titan is going over here onto the left side of the cockpit. And if you look up right by the cockpit, you can see there's a floating button there. Tapping F, and we can climb the ladder up into the open canopy of the cockpit. It's the only way to get in and out of the ship when you are full of cargo. So tapping I to turn the engines on, and then hailing the ATC to open the hangar. We will go explore the space station in a few minutes at a different space station, but let's deliver this cargo. Again, leave your landing gear down until you get outside of the hangar, just to be safe, until you get used to it. And we'll tap N to retract the landing gear. Alright, we have successfully departed Beijing Point. You'll notice that flying out of atmosphere and flying in atmosphere are very different. Alright, let's head back to Area 18. I'm going to briefly hold B to go into nav mode. And then I would be able to hit click deliver shipment and then click on route to, but because this is in the planet right here next to us, we actually need to travel down to the planet first. There's Area 18. So let's go to the planet first. This will get us into, I guess, proper orbit of the planet. And then makes it so that we can point at and calibrate to the different point of interest that are on the planet itself. But notice we just departed from over here. There's Beijing Point in the distance. And then I'm going to point the nose of my ship down here to Area 18 and allow the quantum drive to calibrate. And then we'll descend down into the atmosphere of ArcCorp towards Riker Memorial. Oh, and it seems to have briefly stopped. Sometimes quantum drives can be quite finicky. Let's try it again. And it stopped early. So sometimes it'll do that, and to be honest, we're actually quite close to Riker Memorial, so I'm just going to fly down into the atmosphere myself. We're not very far away at all, and this is a nice fast ship. Alright, here we are coming down into Area 18. Notice it's a huge, giant red and white building. That's how you know that this is the spaceport. It also has blinking lights above it that continue in a column up to the atmosphere. But let's hail the ATC. And there we go. It is opening the door of our hangar. So we're going to fly in here nice and slow. Deploy the landing gear. Just slow us down even more. And carefully land in our hangar. There we go. Tap I to turn the engines off again, always. And then because I need to get out of the ship to the left, I'm going to hold Z and look to the left to see the button I need to left click on to exit the ship. So holding Z allows you the ability to free look around in any direction. Oh, ship took a little bit of damage. That's kind of funny, I don't know how that occurred. But let's go ahead and unload these boxes now by simply moving them with the tractor beam over onto the freight elevator floor. There we go, last box. And then holding R briefly to reholster my tractor beam, and then come over to the kiosk of the freight elevator. And now we simply drop these down, and we'll need to confirm that we are making the delivery. I recommend staying on this screen until it says transfer complete. And there we go. Objective complete. We have delivered our 6 SU of corundum to Area 18, and now that means our contract is also complete. And if we look in the Mobiglass, we can see that it is now under the History tab, and that contract is now complete. And we can also see we've been paid for it. We made 50,000 credits off of that one simple contract. If we go into the Rep tab, we can see we now have some trainee level reputation with Kovalex, and as we complete more contracts for them, our rep will continue to increase, and that does give you additional missions. So notice we now have 2 drop-down menus for hauling. Some are supply grade, which are larger contracts. Notice this one is for a lot more SCU than we just delivered, way more than we can do with our little ship. But small grade, we do have some smaller contracts that are totally doable with our little 8 SU ship. Some of them could require a couple of trips with something like the Avenger Titan, but notice we have a lot of different options now, and that's a great way to make money. All right, let's depart ArcCorp and go explore the solar system. So one other thing I'd like to show you here is that if you look in the top left corner, you can see your fuel capacity, so hydrogen fuel and quantum fuel. You can also see your altitude off the surface of the planet in kilometers. And if you hold Z, like I mentioned a moment ago, you're able to free look around. You're literally just turning your head to be able to see various buttons and look around from your cockpit view. But if I hit F2, that'll bring up my map in the Mobiglass, right? And we can see the various stations, mining bases, and moons. So I can either click on Galleria here, or you can use the search bar if it's not in your current field of view and type out the location you'd like to go to. So here's Galleria. I'm just going to click on the moon itself, but notice all the different points of interest on the moon that we could go visit. So let's route to the moon. Notice it created our little path, and with the current quantum drive and ship we have, this is only going to take 9 seconds of quantum travel to get there. So with the ship in nav mode, all I need to do is point to the quantum markers after I hit route. Notice that it's on the other side of the planet, so first it's going to jump us to orbital marker 2, or OM2. Left click activates quantum travel. Those beautiful clouds. Now, the next quantum marker we have is the moon itself. So if we hold right click and zoom in, you can kind of see the moon out there in the distance, but let's let this calibrate and then make a short quantum trip. And here we are at the beautiful moon, Galleria. If I turn around, you can see where we came from, and if I zoom in, you can see the planet ArcCorp there in the distance. So we traveled all that distance, and it was not, there's Walla over there, that's the other moon. It was not a loading screen, that was us simply traveling across the star map. Notice each planet and moon has 6 different orbital markers, and in this case we have several different points of interest. I'm just going to pick one here on the sunny side of the moon. And we're going to use quantum travel to descend down closer to the surface of the moon. We could, if we wanted, just fly down to the surface. It takes a moment longer, but we certainly could just fly down to the surface and not use quantum travel. But notice we're back in an atmosphere, and so we can see how high off the ground we are in kilometers. And then be careful because moons have a much thinner atmosphere, or no real atmosphere at all, so you can travel a lot faster closer to the surface of a moon than you can of a planet. I'm going to briefly hold B to go back into SCM mode. That will give me a slower speed and also engage my shields and my weapons. If you hit tab, this will send out a ping, which is not super helpful right now, but if this was the dark side of this moon, that would be the only real way to see the surface of the moon is hit tab, and it will highlight the surface for a brief second. But let's find a place where we can land here on the surface of this beautiful moon. It's not super flat, but let's see if we can find a relatively flat spot. This will do. There's much less gravity on the moon, so you want to come in slowly. Notice the ship kind of bounced when I touched the ground there. And here we are, landed on the surface of a moon. Alright, always turn off your engines when you land. Always. If you don't, there's a chance your ship could actually levitate and then you're just in trouble. You'll be stranded, your ship will not be reachable, so always turn off your engines when you land. Alright, quick helmet check before we exit the ship. You want to make sure you have your helmet on before going outside of your ship where there might not be breathable atmosphere. There we go. Walking around on the surface of Galleria. There are several things that could bring you to a moon's surface, several different contracts or missions or just exploring. Notice we don't have very much gravity here. If we actually pull up our Mobiglass, you can see on the home tab that the atmosphere is considered dangerous, not breathable, and we have about 1/3 of regular gravity. The temperature outside is about -6 Celsius. Some moons are very hot and some are cold. Alright, so that is how you can go to the surface of a moon, and there are several different outposts or other locations on the surface of moons that you might go to for various bunker missions or delivering cargo. But let's depart Galleria now and head off into space. Let's go visit another planet. Hold B briefly to switch back into nav mode. And then let's head over towards Hurston. Pulling up the Mobiglass, we've got our map here. I could zoom out or I can type in, I'm going to go to Everest Harbor. Everest Harbor, I know, is the space station in orbit around the planet of Hurston, so we're going to go to Everest Harbor. Hurston's a fantastic planet. If I click route, it's going to draw that line, and notice it's 2 minutes and 40 seconds of quantum travel. So we're going to point the nose of the ship, let the quantum drive calibrate, and begin our quantum travel journey. Now while we're making this jump, let me show you a few other things on the star map. First, when I zoom out, notice that you can see where you are on this jump. Notice I'm slowly moving along that dotted line, which is pretty neat. This is not a loading screen. We're actually moving through this solar system. All right, and here we are arriving at Hurston. Here we go. Beautiful planet. Let's jump around to Everest Harbor. And here we are. Everest Harbor happens to be one of the more popular space stations over the city of Lorville on the planet of Hurston. As we move in here fast in nav mode as you get closer, Briefly hold B to switch back into SCM mode. And hail the ATC. There we go, we have a hangar queue. It's a busy location, Everest Harbor. But while we're waiting for that hangar, let me show you these external pads that exist on space stations. They might be in various places depending on what space station you're at, but here are two. So these are external pads with some gravity that we would be able to land on and exit our ship and enter there's some player ships here. So this is a Constellation, there's another Connie, and then there's a Drake Corsair. So these are player ships. But we would be able to land on this pad and then enter those doors right there to go inside the space station if we wanted to. But our hangar is ready for us now, so look around and find it. There it is over there. Engaging a little bit of boost to get there a little faster, but be careful. And this is going to be a hangar that we land through the top of it. The doors are open at the top. So landing gear is extended. We're going to use control to strafe downward and land. Turn off your engines, and then we're going to need to refuel because that was a long quantum jump. So we're going to use our Mobiglass, click landing, and notice we need to refuel with quantum, and I might as well get more hydrogen fuel as well. Now once we're out of the ship, we can come over here to the hangar management or the fleet manager and store the ship. Notice this actually moves the ship down into storage. But otherwise the hangar looks exactly the same as our hangar at Area 18. So let's now go into the space station. Just click lobby. And here we are. We are at the ASOP terminals of Everest Harbor Station. Notice we would be able to use the fleet manager and retrieve our ship from here if we need. There's a main lobby of the space station, which for the most part these have a nice window view with Hurston there below us. It's fun to sometimes see player ships flying by that window. This is a popular meetup spot for orgs and groups of players. We have a group of players over here right now, actually. There are food stations like this burrito bar where you'd be able to, look at this, people just littering. Come on, use the trash. But you can buy food at these food shops. And then we're going to head this direction past these other players. Hey guys. Into the medical clinic. Every station has a medical clinic. Now you can use this kiosk to check in. So if you have an injury or you want to reset your respawn point to this location, you'll check in. Notice it told me I should go to room 8. There are kiosks right there on the right that we can set our regen point, but we'll do this on the hospital bed instead. So look for room 8. And so if you have a tiered injury, you'd be able to come into a clinic in any space station and use the hospital bed to treat your injuries. So you lie down on the bed like this, and then holding F to interact with the screen, we're going to click on medical care. And notice if we had injuries, it would be labeled here, and then we'd be able to click treatment, and then there would be boxes we could check for the various injuries, and then click provide treatment, and that will heal those injuries. There's also a regeneration tab. Right now my regeneration is set to Area 18, but if I wanted to come here to Everest Harbor at the event of my death, I could transfer my imprint here to Everest Harbor. I don't want to do that right now. I'm going to leave it set to Area 18, but that is how you set your regeneration or respawn point to a different location other than your home location. You can use the storage access to access any inventory that you might have stored here at Everest Harbor, but I would not be able to access any of my inventory that is stored at Area 18, only whatever I have stored here. Medical clinics also have pharmacies, so here's a pharmacy on the right. We can use the pharmacy shop kiosk to buy things, and I want to go ahead and buy a MedGun now to show you this. So a paramed medical device. They're a little more expensive, but they are very useful once you have some money. So go ahead and buy one of these. They do require refills as well when you run out, so I'm going to buy one paramed refill. And let's go to a storage kiosk now to equip this. Alright, so the MedGun takes the place of the pistol. So if I double click on the MedGun, notice it switched out for the pistol and put the pistol in storage. So that'll work for now. I'll show you how that works later. Those are the habs, but first I want to show you the Galleria. So if you go to these internal elevators that are surrounded by this yellowish color, we can go to the Galleria is one of the stops. All of the space stations have this internal transit elevator like these. So the Galleria is going to have various shops where you can buy things and sell things. There's generally a food court where you can go to buy various food items if needed. This one happens to have a weapons shop. Not all space stations do, but this weapon shop is smaller than the one on Area 18, but has a lot of the same weapons, and we would be able to use this weapons shop kiosk to buy different armor, weapons, and ammo. Otherwise, the Galleria has a few other shops that I'd like to show you. Let's go upstairs first. There's usually an upstairs and a downstairs to the Galleria. Notice the storage access kiosks off on the left, and then there's a store called Platinum Bay. Most space stations have a Platinum Bay, and this is where you'll go to buy different ship components. Not ship weapons, but you can buy things like shields, coolers, power plant, quantum drives. And notice that if I were to click on one of these, I'm not going to buy one right now, but notice if I click on these, it tells me information about the different quantum drives. I can see this is a size 3 grade B, for example. This is a size 1 grade D. So if I were to buy any of these ship components, I would then be able to equip these to my ship by the Mobiglass, Vehicles tab, select my stored ship. It has to be stored at this location. And then I could go in here and switch these out. So let's say I bought that quantum drive. I would go in here and I would see that I have an extra quantum drive. But first, before you install a quantum drive, you want to uninstall your jump module. The jump module is very important for jumping through wormholes. Then you'd go install your quantum drive, hit save, go back to propulsion, and reinstall your jump module. Otherwise, you will not be able to use wormholes to go to other solar systems. But it's through that tab in the Mobiglass that you can switch out your ship components and weapons. This station also happens to have a shop where you can buy clothes. There's not a huge purpose for the clothes right now other than to look a certain way or roleplay. I'm usually just in some armor. There's an admin shop as well with terminals on the outside. Or we can go inside and use the kiosks that are inside this admin shop. Notice this is where we would be able to buy or sell certain commodities. It is beyond the scope of this tutorial to go into commodity trading. There's a lot to it that I won't cover here, but notice I would be able to go buy any of these commodities right now using this kiosk. Just outside of this, on the left side, notice that we've got, at this station, one of these security kiosks or portals. If you have a crime stat, you can use these that are scattered throughout the system in various stations and cities to go pay fines for crimes you've committed, up to murder. If you've committed homicide, there's no way to pay that off. You're going to be hunted by other players and will go to prison. The prison is called Klesher Rehabilitation Facility. It is on the moon called Aberdeen, not far here from Hurston. And that really only applies to the Stanton system. If we were in Pyro or Nyx, that would not apply. Alright, going now back to the elevator, and we're going to go to the cargo center. Now, space stations will either have a cargo center like Everest Harbor does here, or a refinery. A refinery will have a lot of the same things, except you'll use a refinery for salvage and mining gameplay. But this cargo center here at Everest Harbor is the same as cargo centers scattered throughout at various other stations. You can buy gear, you can buy backpacks. Notice we could buy this backpack right here off the shelf. There's jackets, You can buy helmets and pyro multi-tools and attachments. Otherwise, you can just go over here to the shop terminal and use the kiosk to buy things. I want to show you a couple things here. First of all, there is something called a 1 SCU container. There's also 2 and 4 that you can buy, or 8 SCU containers. This is where you can store your own goods if you need extra storage space. Another thing I want to show you is a max lift tractor beam. It's 18,000 credits, but this is basically a tractor beam rifle as opposed to the small handheld pyro multi-tool tractor beam that we currently have. A lot of the boxes, pretty much all of the types of cargo and different sizes, we can just handle with our pyro multi-tool. But there are 32 SCU boxes that can only be lifted with that max lift tractor beam, and you can buy it at cargo centers like this one. Alright, now we're back here on the main floor of the space station, and I want to show you real quick the Easy Hab. If I were to log out here in Everest Harbor and then log back in the next day, I would spawn into one of the Hab apartments here in the Easy Hab, and then I would just come down the elevator to the lobby and be right here. But let's head back to the hangar now. Now I can use the ASOP terminal to spawn in my hangar. I can do this by retrieving my ship, but there's a caveat here. Sometimes the hangar tries to eat your ship. So usually what I do is call my ship up like that, make sure it truly spawned in, and then I go back to the kiosk and store it immediately. That puts the ship back in storage, but I have a hangar here. So let's use the elevator to go there. Alright, here we go, and let's pull up the ship using this terminal. Alright, so let's tap 3 to pull out our MedGun. I want to show you how to use this real quick. Right click to aim at someone else and fire it just like a gun if you're trying to heal someone else, but you hold, or push B rather, to aim it at yourself, and then left click to heal yourself. We'll put that into use here on a mission. There is an advanced mode where you can actually adjust the different types of medicines. Most of us just leave it on basic and it does the job. And then you can hit R to go ahead and reholster that. I'm going to go ahead and also pull out my med pen, because if you tap 4, remember this pulls out a med pen, and that's sometimes a faster, easier way to heal yourself, but those are one-time use. Now that you know your way around a space station, let's make some more money. Now, first quick thought is that these missions will change depending on what planet you are near to. So these cargo hauling missions would all be based around Hurston, just so you know, now that we're near Hurston. But how about let's complete either a mercenary or a bounty hunter mission. Let's do a bounty hunter first. So notice that we're being offered the opportunity to do the tracking permit certification mission. This will have us chasing an NPC criminal, and he is near a cave on Aberdeen. So let's go ahead and track this one. This should end up being a little bit of ship-to-ship combat. And it is what's called a VLRT, very low risk target.
Bounty's all yours. Get locked and loaded and take him out.
Alright, the hangar door is open, so I'm going to hit spacebar to strafe straight upwards and retract the landing gear, and let's depart Everest Harbor.
Landing gear retracted.
There we go. So we want to jump over to Aberdeen, so I'm going to change to nav mode to spool up the quantum drive, and I'm going to aim towards my target's location. If that was not working right away, I could pull up the Mobiglass, click on the mission marker, and then click route, and that will also give us the ability to jump to the location. So let's jump over to Aberdeen, one of the moons of Hurston.
Quantum travel initiated. Quantum travel complete.
Alright, here we are at Aberdeen. Aberdeen is a unique moon. It is a very hot location. The temperature is very high here. It also has a fairly dense layer of clouds over its surface. So what we're looking at right now are the clouds, and if I were to hit tab, it will send out a ping and I will be able to see the surface of the moon under the clouds. There you go. We can watch our altitude there on the right as we come down into the clouds. We're not going to be able to see the surface, so I'm going to send out pings every once in a while to be able to see the surface and also watch my altitude as we descend through the clouds here. There we go. We're now below the clouds and the visibility is a lot better. We're going to keep moving over here towards the target location. And I'm going to switch into SCM mode, which will pull up my shields, as well as make my weapons available. And now we're in the area, so I'm going to send out a ping by hitting tab to scan the area, and we want to find our target, and there is our target. Alright, so there's a good chance we're going to be doing some ship-to-ship combat in the clouds, which is a little difficult, but hopefully some of it will at least be below the clouds. Tap T to target the ship, target lock the ship, and it looks like it's a little 85X, a single ship. We're going to move in closer here, and as we get closer, we're going to see these pips pull up, and as soon as it turns light green, we're going to be able to start firing by holding left click to fire weapons. There we go. Yep, we're in the clouds. So keep an eye on your altitude. Flying blind. There he goes. And I'm not a professional dogfighter. There are other people who have created wonderful tutorials on how to do this better. If you're into this, then definitely go learn those wonderful skills. But we'll go ahead and take this guy out. X is a fast little ship. There we go. Got him. So contract complete. I'm gonna go finish off this ship. Well, it falls to the planet, to the moon. There we go.
Nice job taking them out. I'll push your payment through.
And there we go. Contract complete. More money made, and that will give us rep with the Bounty Hunters Guild. And there will be a lot of other bounty hunting missions available to us now. Let's go ahead and leave Aberdeen. Alright, notice we're at 87,000 credits. But let's go ahead and complete a mercenary contract now. This one will have us going to a bunker on Hurston, it looks like. And we will be providing some backup to security on site. So we're going to be flying back to Hurston. I can't select the target location itself, so we're just going to select the planet for now and route to Hurston. There we go. Now we should be able to jump to the bunker location. There we go. Hurston's one of my favorite planets, actually. It's got beautiful clouds and mountains, and the colors are great. It also has dynamic rain, which we're flying into a rainstorm here, which the rain will come and go. Storms will pass over the surface of the mountain and actually get the ground wet at the location. Alright, now coming into a bunker like this, you want to be very careful because some of them have active turrets and will shoot at you once you are within their property. And so there's a ridge in front of this bunker, and I'm going to try to come in low behind this ridge just in case there are turrets. I think there probably are because there's several other players' ships here that are probably abandoned ships. But if I pop up over this ridge, strafing up just a little bit, I imagine I'm going to see turrets. Yep. There we go. See, turrets. So we're going to instead land on this side of the ridge where the turrets will not destroy our ship. I often will bring hover bikes to locations like this because hover bikes will not be shot at by turrets. We obviously don't have a hover bike yet because we just started. So we're going to go in on foot. It's not that far of a hike. So go ahead and exit our ship here, which is now in a safe location from the turrets. It looks like it is actually raining. And it's a little bit dark, so if you tap T, this will turn on your headlamp. When you're wearing a helmet, you have a little headlight or a flashlight in your helmet, and that is helpful in dark locations like this. But Hurston's a really cool little planet, honestly. Trees and different types of plants. It also has a breathable atmosphere. Let me show you that. If we pull up the Mobiglass and click on health, notice that health or home, we've got atmosphere is safe. So I would be able to take my helmet off right now. It also has full gravity. I'm going to leave the helmet on just for the damage protection because we're going into a hostile situation. Now you can hit left Alt plus X and your hand will come up and wipe your visor. So if you're in a rainy or snowy situation and your visor's getting wet, left Alt H will let you wipe your visor. Alright, we're getting in here close, so let's review the contract real quick. Notice that what we're doing is coming to support the security forces on site. We do not harm allies and do not harm non-combatants. We really only need to take out the hostiles. If you kill somebody who's not one of the hostiles, you will get a homicide crime charge. Alright, so we're coming in close to the bunker now. I want to review a little bit of basic FPS stuff as we get in here closer. So first of all, if you tap C, you can crouch, and tapping C will allow you to stand back up again. E leans to the right and Q leans to the left, and again right click to aim and fire with left click. Notice I can lean while I'm aiming. And then if you tap Control, you will lie down prone like this. And you can either use spacebar or tap Control again to get back up. But let's make our way around here and clear this site of any hostiles. There will be some up here on the surface as well. Now I'm going to show you what happens, how you can know if they're hostile. They will start shooting at you, and let me show you how to use the MedGun. So I'm going to let this guy shoot at me a few times. Come on. Here we go. Alright. Alright, see my health down there? 73%. So if I tap 3 for the MedGun, B to aim it at myself, that's how you provide yourself with medical care in the field. Or you can use 4 and use one of the med pens. But let's go ahead and clear out these hostiles up here on the surface. Oh, I think I'm hitting the box. There we go. Oh, he threw a grenade and I did not hear it. So they can throw grenades. They don't do a huge amount of damage, but I'll frequently carry grenades myself. But they're not super effective, but it is a fun part of the gameplay. And I'm really looking forward to getting a new gun here at this site that has a scope instead of these simple iron sights. Here we go. That should be all the hostiles that are up here on the surface. We will need to go down inside this bunker to clear the rest. But I want to show you how you can loot. So first of all, this guy has what looks like a sniper rifle, and I just have the one gun, so I'm going to go ahead and pick up this AO3 sniper rifle by hitting F. And then I can hold R and that puts it on my back. I can tap F to loot a corpse, and I'm going to go ahead and hold shift and left click to move those into my backpack. I could also take a look at what armor he has, and I would be able to loot some of that if I wanted to into my backpack. Alright, if you tap left +1, this will repool your ammo or stack your mags. There we go. There's a Karna rifle, and actually, wait, that has a scope. This is our exact same rifle, but with an optic, so I'm going to go ahead and swap by holding F, and that'll drop my gun and pick up the other one, and now I have a scope, which is fantastic. That's what I wanted, a better gun. These bunker missions are generally a great way to get guns and ammo and all sorts of gear without needing to buy it. So we're going to go down into the bunker now, because notice we still have 53% of our hostiles remaining on site, so the rest are probably down here in the bunker. So we'll ride this elevator down and take out anyone that appears hostile. Like this guy. Like I said, you can loot any of the armor and weapons from these bunkers, which is a fantastic way to get gear. I actually rarely buy weapons. I just get them from sites like this. Alright, there's a guy. Go. And once you get down to about 35% left, they get little mission markers on them like this, which is helpful. But getting hit. Let's take some cover, provide some medical care to ourselves with the MedGun. Now if you hold shift, you can take a breath, and that'll give you more steady aiming while you hold shift. Useful for longer shots. Alright, just a couple more targets. And should be two more. There's one. And then we can also do melee attacks like this with using the middle mouse button. That guy was not paying attention. But now our contract is complete. So I'd be able to go ahead and loot this guy if I wanted. I could take this Karna rifle and put it in my backpack along with the ammo. And if I hit this little arrow button up in the top right corner, I can see the armor a little better. I would take some of that if I wanted good heavy armor, but I'm not interested in any of that right now. As I leave here, I'm realizing there's exploded medical canisters here, which is part of the current event, which makes me think there's going to be other bad guys respawning real fast here. Oh, yep. And I think I'm just going to let them kill me so that you can see what it looks like when you die and how respawning works. Oh, there's a Copion. Alright, yeah, I'm going to let them kill me here in this bunker. And there we go. So I'm currently incapacitated, which means I'm not dead, but notice that I have 1 hour and 29 minutes and 32 seconds left, where if I wanted to, I could hold M to activate a medical rescue beacon and hope that another player comes to rescue me in the next 90 minutes, or I can just hold backspace to die and respawn at my last respawn location, which in this case is Area 18. So I'm just going to hold backspace now to respawn. There we go. So my corpse is still there in the bunker with everything in its backpack, and I am now regenerating or respawning at the hospital in Area 18. Okay, after a minute or so I am back, and we are at Area 18 in the hospital, and because of the current system, I kept all of my armor and gear that was equipped to my body. Alright, my corpse is still out there in that bunker, and you can see that on the screen a little bit. But if I go up to a storage kiosk, notice everything that was in my backpack I've lost, but everything that was on my body and equipped including the 2 guns that I picked up, are still in my body. This is part of the Tier 0 item recovery. It will be different in the future as the game continues to be developed, but that's how it is working currently in this patch. Get some more ammo real quick. Now if I wanted to, we would be able to head back to that bunker and try to recover the weapons that are inside my corpse's backpack, but I'm not really interested in doing that right now, but you could. So we're going to use this elevator in the hospital to go down to the lobby. We'll be in the lobby of the elevator. Notice you can see the corpse marker as well as my ship marker way over there by Hurston. We're back on ArcCorp though at Area 18. So I'm going to need to claim my ship over at the ASOP terminal. And that will leave my original ship there just sitting at that bunker. Alright, but here we are, back at Area 18. So let's wrap this up. You have now learned a lot of things. You have completed several types of contracts. There's another player. Oh, yep, little flashlight flashing. That's the way we frequently say hello. But let's look at this. Having completed the contracts we've completed, we have 124,000 credits to our name already. Plenty of money to really get started in the verse. We've also developed a rep with both the Bounty Hunters Guild, right? We're a probationary guild member, with Kovalex as a trainee, and with Foxwell Enforcements as a security trainee. And as we continue to do some of those hauling, mercenary, or bounty hunter contracts, we will continue to build that rep and get better contracts offered to us. But notice we have a lot of different options now under bounty hunting, mercenary, as well as cargo hauling. So many different ways that you can now get started and make money in the verse. But let's head back to the hangar and the ASOP terminal, or we really need to head back to the spaceport using the tram and claim our ship. Here we go on the tram. Alright, back inside the spaceport, and let's head over to the ASOP terminal real quick. And at the ASOP terminal, I could go ahead and claim my ship from this terminal, but because this is my home location, I can also just go back here to my hangar. This is my persistent hangar, and I can then open up the fleet manager and then click claim, and this will claim my ship in 4 minutes and 3 seconds. If I want to pay a small fee, I can expedite that to a minute, a little over a minute.
Thank you.
Now in the final few minutes here, I want to show you a couple of very useful websites. The first here is Erkul.games. You can use this website to select your ship. I've got it selected to Avenger Titan, and notice that I could play around with different types of weapons loadouts, selecting different weapons that could fit onto my ship, like these NDB-30s, which are a fantastic gun. I can see how that would affect my DPS, damage per second, as well as the alpha damage. I can look through different types of shields, power plants, as well as coolers and quantum drives to experiment to see what I might like to fit in my ship. And once I select something here, I can also click on Stanton Shops and see where it's sold. Notice this one is sold at Crew L1 for $35.9 and at the Platinum Bay. So that's how you know where certain components would be sold. If you click on the ship picture again, you can see certain stats about the ship. Notice the HP, the health points of this ship, the different speeds and maneuverability, as well as the cargo capacity of the various ships. Another very useful website is the Star Citizen Wiki. This one are Star Citizen tools, and there's various things you can click around on and explore to learn about the various nuanced things of the game. I like this tab that has to do with purchasing ships in-game, because many ships can be purchased in-game with in-game Alpha UEC. You do not need to buy ships with real money unless you really want to. You can buy a lot in the game, and this site shows you where you can find them, where you can buy them, and how much they cost. Another very useful website that I use all the time is called Universal Item Finder. Notice it's here as finder.cstone.space. You can come in here to the universal item finder and literally type for anything, any item that exists in the game, like this Zephyr quantum drive, for example. This is a type of stealth quantum drive, and this would show how much it costs and all of the different locations where I would be able to buy it. You can use this for really any item in the entire verse. You can search for all sorts of very odd little frivolous things. For example, let's see if we can find some ice cream. Let's say I'm in the mood for some ice cream, specifically some coffee ice cream. If I click on that, I can see all of the various places where I can go buy that specific item. Well, every citizen's story begins with small steps. Your first flight, your first landing, your first bounty, your first jump into the unknown. But out here, every moment can become something unforgettable. You've learned the basics now, but this is only the beginning. There are multiple star systems waiting out there for you to explore, game loops we didn't cover like mining, salvaging, scavenging, trading, and many others. There are friends to meet, challenges to face, and stories only you can create. So take what you've learned here, head out on a solo adventure or find your crew. Chart your course and make your mark among the stars. I'll see you out there, pilot. Welcome to the verse.